New chatter said, I'm new like to the VTuber watching experience, you know, okay? How the heck do you move your character like you do IRL? I don't understand. It's literally tracking technology. I'll peel back the curtain. You know, Apple Face ID, how you hold up a phone to yourself and it can recognize if that face is yours or not. The same tech is used to look at a person's face while they're streaming, see what their face is doing. Yeah, it's motion capture. It's like CGI motion capture that they use in movies, right? It's like a lighter version of that. And it maps it out to a virtual thing. The difference is that this is two-dimensional. So this is drawn art that someone takes 1 billion years to go through and animate. And it's painstaking fucking process. It takes a really long time. But basically they make it so that Apple's Face ID will read in this eye closed, these eyelids closed, right? So we have eye open, which is this. Then we have eye closed, which is this, and then everything in between slowly happens, right? That all of that individually gets animated. So the tracking isn't exact. The tracking is if eye closed, do this. If head turned to side, do this. Does that make sense? You could fuck up the parameters and you could make it so that like if eye closed, mouth open. So I could fuck up the parameters so that every time I close my eye, the mouth would just go right? It's just mapping all those different things that it's taking in from the tracking side to animations. But you could fucking do whatever you want with it. You can make it so that every time you open your mouth, your entire avatar jumps or whatever, right? It's just input output. And the way everyone does it is the input and output matches what they're actually doing. But you could just not do that. You could do the opposite if you want. She manually presses every motion that is binded to 3 different keyboards. Yeah, totally. Motion varies, but how long does it take for this model to be done? Oh. I don't think I have a good list of the actual work hours. It varies so much. It definitely took more than 6 months from the start of me getting the first sketch back to having a finished thing. I think it took almost a year. Almost a year, but that was with people working on some other projects in between everything. If my artist worked on my new model and didn't work on anything else and worked full-time, right, 40 hours a week, it should take a couple weeks to do it. She would take a couple weeks. And that's assuming I was asking for a lot of expressions and extra arms and these things, and, you know, and it's a fully new model, not just a new outfit. And then the rigging, similar amount of time, but yeah, it just depends on the 2 people so much. Depends on what you're asking for. You could make a simple model and make it in like no time with the art, and then with rigging, it really doesn't have to take that much time, again, if it's simple. So it just depends. You need presets for movement based on the current model. Yeah, look at this. Okay, so watch me turn side to side. I could do this. Ready? Boom. You see my entire body turns separately from this, or I can go like boom, and now it's things like that. You can change entire presets for how things are like set up and rigged. Yeah, you can do stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense to always use it, you know. It doesn't make sense. But that's basically taking the movements that are already there and just reversing the axis for the body based off how the head is moving. So instead of it going in the same direction, it literally just goes the opposite direction. That's it. That's all that is. Just swapping the parameters. So it's interesting. Is cam scanning movement, or do you have a suit on? I don't know. Suits are only for 3D. Those are only for 3D. For 2D, everything is only taking in... I'm sorry if this ruins your version, but it only takes in your face expressions and the turn of your head and the position. So if I lean, it's recording the position and the turn and the tilt. It's those 3. That's it. The body, nothing is tracked. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Unless you're 3D, then you have that option. You have that option. You could either do it just like this, where it's just off of the head, or you could do a different setting where it is actually taking in full body, everything. You know, that's just how it is. Is there something you are unhappy with your current model? Quality-wise, no. Yes, with some decisions I made, actually. Yeah. No, I wouldn't say super unhappy, just like, yeah, I'd like to change that for the next one. There's so much you can change on it to make things just kind of work the way you want them to, not necessarily that it's tracking one-to-one with everything you're doing. So, like, for example, my mouth smile, there's a smile parameter, right? So there's my mouth, like, kind of naturally smiles a bunch, like mouth corners. So we have to actually tone down the smile parameter because it thinks I'm always smiling, but that's just like, it's just my my lips. You know what I mean? Or some people have their eye shape, certain eye shapes are harder to track, so you have to literally make the parameter for eye open like stay open when it thinks it's starting to close, because it's not even like how closed their eyes naturally are, it's the overall shape. It sees the outer corner and the way it's like turned, and it thinks that that is your eye closing. So some people try someone else's model and it's like this all the time, and they're like, why? And I'm like, oh, it's because the corner of your eye in relation to the eyelid is like this, so it thinks it's closing. And it's just it's these little quirks that are like, you know, if I had all of my stuff set up and I had a different person sit down, face would look different, because the tracking is, you know, off of a lot of assumptions it's making about what your face is doing. Her tracking is hard when you have glasses. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I actually find that it's not really a thing anymore, but older tracking used to be if you put on makeup, right? So you defined a lot of lines on your face. There's a harsher line where your lips end because you're using a bolder color. You put eyeliner on, so it really well understands where your eyelids are. Putting on makeup actually made the tracking better. It was more accurate because it could more properly see where these bold lines and edges were. So that was something people used to do, actually, was they would put on like slightly bold makeup, and they wouldn't do like their skin or anything. They would just do like lips and eyes. So that way the tracking could like understand that better. Nowadays you really don't have to do that, but a long time ago people used to do it with some tech. Because it just needed that. And if you had really good lighting, it usually wasn't a problem. But yeah. Do you know how Mousy does that lean forward? How does that work? I don't remember if... Do you mean the one that she has... It's a toggle. It's a toggle. So she presses a button and the animation does this. Actually, I can, but not the same way hers does. But I can literally just lean forward. See that? I can lean back. And it's different from just moving downward. It's a slight perspective. I didn't want it to be tuned too high, though, so this perspective here just changes a little bit, but not much. Because I was like, when am I going to do that? I, like, never lean in toward the screen. I almost never do. Maybe I do a little bit. So, yeah, I specifically asked them to not make it crazy. That's how it works. It's Live 2D magic. Yeah, you're literally just taking the things that are supposed to be closer and making them bigger, taking the things that are supposed to be farther and making them smaller. Two people asked to expand on the wearing makeup thing. It's not a thing that works anymore. That was with older tech. So, today, if you're a VTuber and you're using VTube Studio, just have okay lighting. That's it. You don't really need to do anything. You don't. The lean mostly sells the outrageous parallax. Yeah, exactly. I like it, though. I like it.